Okay, so the other side of the coin is recycling of reclaimed water. This is a project that was undertaken from 1996 to 2005 here in Bolivar. I was concerned that the huge amount of information that's come out of this project, there were 28 journal papers published. We proved the viability of recycled water as for injection and recovery for non-potable supplies, for irrigation purposes. But a lot of the people that were involved in the project have now moved on. It's good to see that there are some still here, Rudy and Russell. I just wanted to say something about this. So the objectives were to determine the technical feasibility, environmental sustainability, economic viability of recycled water injection into aquifers, to improve the knowledge of subsurface processes and to define operation and maintenance procedures and produce manuals. That's what an ASR well looks like. That's at the Bolivar site. It was to take treated effluent from the DAF plant, which was going into irrigation, take the winter water, put it in the aquifer so that would augment supplies in summer. It's the best instrumented managed aquifer recharge site in the world, with a number of piezometers and observation wells to give us a very good understanding of groundwater processes. And in fact, it was this investment that led to the foundations for the MAR guidelines. Without that information, we wouldn't have the knowledge of the processes, and so the guidelines could never have been written to take into account subsurface treatment. So it's a very thin base to work on one site, but there was enough effort went in that helped us to get over some of the principles across. Okay, so that's just showing some of the pictures of this operation. So what we were looking at were clogging processes, biogeochemical reactions, pathogen survival, aquifer hydraulics, how much could we recover of the fresh water that we put into a brackish aquifer, some solute transport modelling, looking at where we're going to have impacts on other users of aquifers in this area, looking at aquitard structural stability, and we also picked up a couple of additional projects to supplement this through AWWARF, the American Waterworks Association Foundation projects, and also with the Water Reuse Foundation, who came in to look at some endocrine disruptors, we contributed to an international project in that area. So for it was about 500 odd megalitres that were injected and recovered over a period of time. We produced models at different levels, including very basic models that could be used for management purposes. We found that the economics were very favourable, with ASR for reclaimed water being about, down here, about half to a third of the cost of stormwater ASR. This is not taking into account treatment, this is just taking into account injection and recovery. The reason for that is you can inject you can only inject stormwater after it's rained. You can operate your recycled water ASR plant continually while you need to inject, because there's always a source of water there. Okay, community information. So we fed back information to the community. We even had a multilingual interactive display for this. Okay, let me just check, because there's a lot of conclusions here. I might just skip the conclusions sections here. If anyone wants to ask questions on the technical stuff, then I'm happy. to answer. I guess the summary was that we actually found that the site worked. We went outside the envelope of anything that had been done before with recycled water injection, poorer quality water than, say, Orange County was using very advanced treated water. This was just, when we first started, it was the DAF plant, and if it wasn't for the activated sludge plant coming online, the project would have been lost. We wouldn't have been able to succeed in preventing clogging. So there's some of our partner sites. One of the reports that was produced. So it led to the MAR guidelines, to the concept of the Beanie Up groundwater replenishment project, led to the Aldinga ASR pilot project, and we had ISA4, an international conference here in Adelaide based on this. And as I said, there were other projects that it led to, and now I guess through this work we've been quite influential through the ASCE as it's revising its guidelines on MAR. But we didn't proceed, what we didn't succeed in spite of this international success and the policy success, the on-ground success hasn't occurred. This has been a failure from the point of view what material benefit came to South Australia as a result of this project. At this stage, you would say none. The project didn't proceed in spite of the favourable economics. The intention was that when the demand on the Virginia pipeline reached the capacity of the pipeline, then managed aquifer recharge would kick in. But it hasn't yet happened, and I don't know whether the pipeline capacity has now been exceeded. I guess the lessons and insights, I am near the end, Damien. Patient research is required to identify and manage the risks. You don't go into these projects and you don't know what the problems are until you start. You've got to make some effort to solve the problems, to get through you've got to break through a series of barriers, and you don't know whether you're standing on the last ridge, whether it's the last ridge in front of you, or when you cross that one, whether there's another ridge behind. So having some patience to go into this, because once you've broken the back of it, then you've created the option. It's not until you've proven that it's viable do you have the economic benefit of being able to go into a new technology or a new application. Okay, do the research and trials to assess the viability before making large investments. We had that luxury here in South Australia. If that project had been a 3-year project, this would have been down the drain and dead and buried. But because it went over a longer period of time, we actually had time to solve those problems and get on top of things. What we see at the moment is a lot of Commonwealth funding is going into capital works programs, and I actually see, I've seen in recent years 2 projects where people are trying to spend $10 million before 30th of June, and they don't actually have the viability side sorted through yet. We really need to get the corporate funders of major projects to really understand this viability part. If funding was made available to help people get over the barriers, then we can see what the economics of these things are. You've got a level playing field. You can decide whether you're going to invest in managed aquifer recharge, the option, because it's the cheapest option and the best option, or whether you're going to do something else. Retaining corporate knowledge is important, and I guess I was concerned that maybe in SA Water some of the corporate knowledge about the Bolivar project, is that still there? Are people still aware of that as an opportunity? Biogeochemistry is important for hydraulics of ASR and water quality ASR systems. We're feeding that sort of information through into the coal seam gas industry for re-injection. The project pushed the international envelope on water quality injected, and as I said, 28 journal papers, 2 PhDs, Stephanie Rink-Pfeiffer and Joe van der Zalm. I think probably they're the triumphs of this. because we've got some really good people that are working in this domain now. That's the group that actually met in 2002 to review this project, including our AWWARF collaborators, and it was at this meeting that Mike Martin went away and had a conversation in his room with Nick Turner at ISA4. They'd heard Bill Mills speak, and they decided, let's have a go in Western Australia, and the Beanie Up project emerged. So you never know what is going to fall out of the tree when you start to shake.